I just got to the office. I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. It's because I have integrity. And, I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good. And then for them to do something like this tears my guts out. The left, they're all complicit. They're openly promoting pedophilia. We know they're pure evil. And they'll think it's all funny. Oh, look, Alex is sad. MAGA's tearing itself apart. Your globalist masters literally want you to eat bugs and live in a 5G, 200 square foot coffin apartment.
Conservatives are having a hard time processing a memo that was released by the DOJ and FBI, which claims that there was no Epstein client list. Also, it claims that he definitely died by suicide. And on top of that, it says there was no evidence that individuals associated with him were blackmailed. And this is exactly the outcome that leftists like myself predicted, for obvious reasons, which we'll get to, but conservatives can't quite seem to figure out why a president who appeared on Epstein's flight logs multiple times and wished his main accomplice well, who also was reportedly photographed with Epstein and topless young women, won't release information incriminating the powerful men associated with Epstein who also may have engaged in sex crimes with Epstein. It's so weird, right? It's almost like Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino got the Epstein files and they saw something or someone that they didn't expect, and they just chose to withhold that information from the public in order to protect that one individual. I don't know, though. Maybe I'm crazy. It's just a hunch. But I can't not make that assumption here, given how much the Epstein files were hyped up by the same people who are now trying to bury them.
We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know. The Biden administration sat on these documents. No one did anything with them. And why were they sitting in the Southern District of New York? I want a full report on that. Sadly, these people don't believe in transparency. But I think more, unfortunately, I think a lot of them don't believe in honesty. And it's a new day. It's a new administration. And everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
We have flight logs. We have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. And I really believe that now with Kash and Pam, there will be accountability.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
So that's what they said about a month into Trump's second term. They then released binders of information that was already available to pre-selected right-wing grifters, but after that didn't suffice. Pam Bondi's excuse then was that it's taking longer than expected because of the sheer volume of information that they were going through. But all of a sudden, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI started to sing a completely different tune, and hilariously enough, a right-winger on Twitter created a video to showcase this blatant contradiction that we were seeing.
Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child, and there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now.
Yeah. Now, fast forward to today, and Pam Bondi is suddenly in complete agreement with Kash Patel, and all of these people are saying the same exact thing, which is crazy because at one point she even said that Epstein's client list was on her desk. But I want you to hear how the White House press secretary is spinning what she said.
According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
I've got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
Well, of course, I'm sure it has nothing at all to do with this.
That was close to straight.
You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were very close for 10 years. But let's pretend for a moment that a cover-up isn't happening specifically to protect Donald Trump. If that's the case, why then is Epstein's main accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, serving 20 years in prison? I mean, part of her conviction is for sex trafficking, which implies the existence of a client list. Otherwise, how would the prosecution even get a conviction without clients to traffic victims to in the first place? It makes no sense, right? And Pam Bondi herself knows of at least one associate of Epstein who was a potential client, and that individual is Bill Clinton. And this is what she said before she became AG.
We know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior.
Yeah, totally not suspicious that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior, but never reported said bad behavior to the police. I mean, if he did something that was bad enough to have Trump boot him when they were close friends for a very long time, you would think that it would be something that was irredeemable, perhaps criminal, but apparently not criminal enough for Trump to take it to the proper authorities to have Epstein investigated. Interesting. But I mean, this raises another question here. Is Pam Bondi protecting Bill Clinton? I mean, we know that Trump is definitely innocent according to these people, so why are they suddenly changing their tune about the Epstein files? It has to be because now they're protecting Democrats. They're part of the deep state cabal. Is it possible, though, just hear me out for a second if you're a conservative who sees this video, that Trump maybe wasn't being honest about his ties to Epstein? Is that a possibility we can even entertain for a second? We'll come back to that in a minute, but I want to show you the thought process from some conservatives who are genuinely struggling to understand why the Trump administration would engage in such a blatant cover-up. You already saw Alex Jones cry at the beginning of this video, but part of his frustration is his inability to understand what's going on. So here's his thought process.
If Trump was to actually prosecute this, it would bring down the CIA. The question is Trump's DOJ actually using this to control the deep state? Or are they just so overwhelmed by it, they are tapping out? I mean, even people like Cat Turd, who is just the quintessential, will not question anything in the Trump administration, is completely freaked out now. I mean, no one is buying this. It's just absolute horseshit. This is going to be an unmitigated disaster. I don't know how they got Trump and the DOJ to do this, because the public is not buying it. No one is buying it. So I never saw any evidence of Trump involved in any of the stuff that came out. It was all fake. The fake Jane Does, all the crap, E. Jean Carroll, the crazy leftist cat lady, all of it. So now, by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just, you cannot see it any other way.
So Trump is complicit, not because he's implicated in sex crimes, of course, but because he's choosing to take part in a cover-up for reasons that Alex Jones can't comprehend. Perhaps it's because the deep state is too powerful, or because they're not that powerful and Trump is playing 4D chess and using this as a ploy to get the deep state to do what he wants. Okay, that's some logic right there. Other conservatives, though, were just as perplexed, as you're going to see. Benny Johnson says, to say there are thousands of victims in a convicted sex trafficking ring, and then to say there were no customers when the operation happened right before our very eyes, insults our intelligence. Trafficking women to no one? I don't buy it. There are other dark forces at play here. He then goes on to quote George Orwell, which is extremely ironic since he's part of the party commanding you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. Robbie Starbucks says, says, so Epstein was trafficking these underage girls to nobody? Is Pam Bondi serious? No one who has followed this for years believes that everyone who went to Epstein's island was just there to catch some waves and relax. Again, no one believes this for very good reason. Mike Cernovich chimed in saying, no one is believing the Epstein cover-up, Donald Trump. This will be part of your legacy. There's still time to change it. Patrick Bet David says, no one believes this. One, maybe they're right. Maybe they found something and the rest of the skeptics are all conspiracy kooks. Two, maybe they know something the rest of us don't know. Maybe there's a valid reason for their conclusion that we're not at a pay grade to know. This goes on forever, by the way, but he's very confused, and he talks through the thought process that he's having. Now, back in February, Matt Wallace tweeted, I just saw the leaked Epstein files. Get ready for the world to change tomorrow. But now he's asking, why is the Trump administration pretending the Epstein client list doesn't exist? In February, Jack Posobiec kind of did the same thing. He boasted about getting an Epstein binder, but now he's saying, I want answers on Epstein, as many as possible, not press releases. Answers. It's weird that you didn't get the answers in the binder that they gave you. Now, when it comes to this tweet from Mike Benz, I originally thought that this was fake, but I checked, and this is indeed a real tweet where he says, all I'm saying is I don't think today would have happened if this was our attorney general, and he shares a picture of Matt Gaetz. I just feel like I don't know what to say. This tweet alone almost made my head explode, because how could you be that fucking stupid? Nonetheless, there are people like this, and enough people to like this and retweet it because they think that this guy's making a compelling point. Wow. Elon Musk says, what's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again. He also shared a clown meme where it says, we will release the Epstein client list. We just need more time. The Epstein client list is on my desk. There is no Epstein client list. He adds, this is the final straw. Now, over on the conservative subreddit, they're equally as confused and outraged. The top comment shared a sentiment similar to Musk's clown meme. This person says, we aren't going to see shit until the 2060s when everyone involved is long dead and there's a Netflix or future equivalent documentary on the Epstein conspiracy. Somebody replied to that saying the only logical explanation for this at this point is that Epstein was working blackmail for the intel agencies and that so many important people were implicated that releasing this information to the public would be catastrophic and effectively cause the uprooting of society. That's the only logical explanation there, bud? This person says, when Kash Patel was pressed by Rogan on his show, homie looked nervous as a motherfucker. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. This person says, this is the number one reason I don't give a shit about the Republican Party. In this, Trump has failed us big time. I don't think he was involved with Epstein, but I do think he's too chicken shit to stir this pot. So at worst, Trump is a coward, but he's definitely not implicated. Please don't think that Daddy Trump is implicated. Wow. Now, after scouring the internet for comments from conservatives, I can assure you that not a single conservative I came across even considered for a second whether or not Trump himself was implicated, and his potential complicity with Epstein's sex crimes is why we're not seeing it. But it did cross the minds of some conservatives, but did they actually genuinely entertain whether or not he has anything to do with this, hence why we're not seeing the Epstein files? No, they predictably weren't able to fight through the cognitive dissonance, even though the answer was staring them right in the fucking faces. For example, Charlie Kirk tweeted out, if Trump was on the Epstein list, why didn't Biden release that info to stop Trump from being president? Jack Posobiec said the same thing, saying, if Trump was in the Epstein files, why wouldn't Biden and Garland just have released it? I can answer that. It's almost certainly because Democrats like Bill Clinton are also implicated in the Epstein files. See, I can come to that conclusion while you can't, because you are partisan hacks and I'm not. And back in February, I posed this question to conservatives on Twitter. Have you ever considered the possibility that Trump is all over the Epstein files and Pam Bondi doesn't want to release them now to protect him? And the conservatives who responded to me were unequivocal. They said no. Not a chance. In fact, I remember a popular right-wing account, rSlurfinder, quote tweeting me saying, found one, as if it was preposterous to even imply that Trump would be implicated in the Epstein files, which is wild to me. Now, I went back to try to find that tweet of them quote tweeting me, but it's since been deleted. That, or I'm misremembering, or they were replying to somebody else, but I'm fairly confident that they were calling me the R word for daring to suggest that the DOJ was trying to protect Donald Trump. Regardless, it's clear that conservatives will never, ever even consider the possibility for a moment that Trump was implicated. But if you won't grant me that, can you all at least just like admit now that it's a little bit bizarre how Trump is always so conspicuously squirrely whenever the subject comes up? Can you at least admit that? I mean, here's just a couple of examples of his behavior whenever the subject of Epstein comes up. It's weird.
Do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately. But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago.
Isn't it so crazy how whenever Epstein is brought up, his first instinct is to deny his involvement and try to change the subject? Like, he wasn't asked, hey man, are you guilty? But yet he felt compelled to share on his own volition that he's definitely not guilty. This is strange. Now, in a different interview with Tucker Carlson, he pivoted to the 2020 election being stolen when Epstein came up because for whatever reason, he gets very uncomfortable whenever this topic comes up. Like, if you're a Trump supporter who is convinced he's definitely innocent, just at a minimum, can you at least admit that this behavior is a little bit suspicious? Imagine it was a Democrat who acted this way whenever Epstein came up. That'd be a weird way to respond, right? But here's the thing. I know that you won't admit that because you automatically disregard any evidence that contradicts your worldview. Because living in an alternate reality is more comforting than admitting that you've been lied to by a con man who might have been diddling kids with Epstein. See, this is why the Trump administration lies to you and takes advantage of you. Because they think that you're stupid enough to believe whatever bullshit they'll tell you, and you are. You believed his lies about the 2020 election being stolen. You believed his lies about Iran having weapons of mass destruction. You believe him when he said that he wouldn't cut Medicaid. You believed him when he said he'd bring down the cost of living. Why wouldn't you believe him if he says that the Epstein files are bullshit and, they're phony and there's no client list and also there was no evidence of blackmail, yada, yada, yada. He knows there's nothing he could do to drive you away because fundamentally you're in a cult and he knows that he's the cult leader. It's why he said that he can shoot someone and walk away on Fifth Avenue because, he knows that the base is going to choose to continue living in a different plane of existence than the rest of us because it's easier to do that and lie to yourself than accept the harsh truth. Even if you're stupid enough to think that Trump wasn't implicated in Epstein's sex crimes, wouldn't it make sense to at least make him think that you think he's involved so he feels more pressure to release it to clear his own name? Of course not, because you're in a cult, and unconditional loyalty to the cult leader is mandatory. So if you're a confused conservative today wondering how powerful people keep getting away with these kinds of heinous crimes, look in the fucking mirror, because your willful ignorance and undying loyalty to one man is helping to enable this kind of shit.
Do yourself a favor and click the join button on YouTube to become a member. Because Mike's doing a great job getting to watch his videos before everyone else is tremendous. Many people are saying this. Join today, folks. You won't regret it.